homosexual? A homosexual.
I quickly became homophobic. Hating on gay people became part of my lifestyle.
Hello, hi, how is everyone? And hey, it's me. Hello. Hope you guys are having a pretty great day today. I know I'm having an alright day, but you know, what more can you ask for? I'm rambling, but yeah, if you couldn't tell by the title, today we're going to be doing a sort of reaction on the Winx Reboot trailer that recently released on Saturday. And so yeah, it just came out, and it's been a little while, and for me it's been a little while since it came out, and I wrote down all my thoughts so I have stuff to talk about, and now I'm sort of just getting this recording up and running just so I can get all my thoughts out there, talk about what I liked, what I didn't like, some of my hopes for the reboot, all that fun stuff. And yeah, that's basically just gonna be the gist of this video. So, I think it's safe to say that discussion around the reboot has been interesting, to say the absolute least. And I also think it's safe to say that if you've been following me for a while, I kind of have a lot of thoughts on some of the controversy around the reboot, to say, once again, the absolute least. And so I was very interested to see the reaction to the trailer, especially with all of this controversy in mind, see what people had to say about it. And I did read some reactions on social media. I haven't read too many, because again, this is mostly just going to be my personal thoughts on the reboot. If you want to see some of my thoughts on the fandom side of things before the reboot came out, I have another video talking about it. You can go and check it out. It's a fun video, I guess. But yeah, this is just going to be about my personal thoughts, my opinion, what I think about the reboot and the trailer. And if you don't like my opinion, then, well, I mean, it's kind of weird to not like me for an opinion, but you know what I mean. If you don't agree with my opinion, that's fine. Just please be respectful, because respecting people's opinions is something that the Winx fandom does not do very well. And that goes double for the Winx reboot controversy. I know this video isn't supposed to be about that controversy, but oh my gosh. It has been abysmal following social media and Winx Club. Okay, enough about the fandom stuff, let's get into the trailer. So like I said, when the reboot trailer came out, I watched it once, and then I started jotting down my notes, anything that I thought was interesting. I wrote it all down in this little journal I got, just so I have like a catalog of all the different things I wanted to talk about. And yeah, so the first thing on the list, basically the first thing that I noticed when I started the trailer video, is that Kiko, and it looks like it's confirmed that he's not going to be a living entity in the reboots. In the previous teaser, he was turned into a notebook, and in this teaser, he is a plushie. Now, I have heard that there's this theory that Bloom's going to use her magic to turn him into an actual living, breathing animal, and that would actually be a very interesting way to give him powers. Ooh, and also it would be a cool nod to season 4, you know, Flora giving all those animals the living and breathing stuff. And, sorry, small tangent, but it would actually make more sense if Bloom did it in a way, because she's the one with the almighty dragon fire power, so it would make more sense for her to be able to give life to inanimate objects. On paper, it makes sense with Flora, but it really calls into question how strong she is if she's able to give this life to inanimate plushies in season 4. I don't know, just some food for thoughts. But anyway, I'm hoping that theory is true and we get to see Kiko in some way, shape, or form, because I really liked the little guy. He was fun in the earlier seasons, and they kind of toned down his presence in the later seasons, so he doesn't really show up that much, but, you know, he's still fun. Oh, and I hope they give him a good design. I really did not like his design in season 8. Okay, so the next thing I noticed is that Bloom is doing some sketches. It looks like it's also confirmed that she's going to be an art girly in the reboots. Hopefully it sticks. I know they kind of ditched that after season 1, and her character was a lot worse for it, but I'm hoping they're going to stick with this direction of her being really into art. It adds a lot of interesting factoids to her character, a lot more nuance to her character, and makes her feel more active. Maybe not more active, but just like more of an actual character instead of just the protagonist that she kind of fell into the seasons after season 1, and especially the later seasons. We also get a lot of scenes of Stella and Flora protecting Bloom. Now, I have an even older video talking about initial impressions on the Winx reboot. You can also go and check that out. But I think I said in that video, that a lot of people didn't like that it was Flora being added into the introduction with Stella and Bloom, where they both go to Gardenia and encourage Bloom to come to Althea, but I actually really like this new change made in the reboot. I feel like it feels more natural. My theory is that they're kind of on a mission to recruit new fairies because something that's happening in the magic dimension. They're on a mission to recruit new fairies and keep them safe just because something might be going on. So Farragonda is sending different fairies on this assignment and they send Stella and Flora together. It feels a little less contrived than Stella just randomly being on Earth for Bloom to find her. That was never really explained in the original show, so I'm glad they're explaining it and expanding on it in the reboot. And I also like to see Stella and Flora having a more proactive role. From some of the teasers we saw previously, it sort of looked like Bloom was just going to be saving them. They would be knocked out rather easily. There was that one scene where they were easily taken out by the monster. So I'm glad that it's not just being a curb stomp where Bloom has to save the day, like it's sometimes turned into in later seasons. I'm glad that they're still proving that they have way more experience than Bloom does in this situation and saving her by carrying her and flying with her, which was a nice scene, by the way. Oh, and another thing. I also like how the wings look. I know a lot of people said that they don't look transparent like they did in the 3D movies, and I don't necessarily disagree with that criticism, but I also think that the lighting effects around the wings sort of makes up for that. It helps them stand out, it helps them maintain that ethereal look, and I think the wings look good in the reboot. Another little thing I noticed, it looks like they did some retakes of a few lines. I think the line where Flora says, "You need to come with us," was changed.
You need to come with us. You need to come with us.
Yeah, it definitely seems like they did some retakes, and in general, I think the voice acting seems pretty good. I was a little worried from some of the line reads in the teaser we got a while back that the voice acting would be a little clunky, but it seems fine for the most part. Not as good as Nick or 4Kids, unfortunately. I don't think we're ever going to be reaching the highs of those two dubs for a while at least. But you know, it's still good. All right, so after that whole thing with Bloom and Gardenia, we get our first full look at Althea. And yeah, another thing I wanted to talk about is I really like the look of Althea. Once again, I know some people didn't like the look of Althea from some of the sneak peeks we got a little while ago, but I actually really like the look. It looks very vibrant, very colorful. It takes what was good about the original and applies it to a 3D setting and does it relatively well in my opinion. So since we get this look into Althea, we also get a look into some of the magic that's on display, some of the teachers, all that fun stuff. I did notice one of the fairies that were there was a group of fairies at one point in the teaser, and there was this one girl who was turning her body into, I think it was a sheep, and I saw that and I'm like, oh my gosh, metamorphosis magic is making a comeback. I don't know, I have a soft spot for shape-shifting magic, and maybe there's some correlation with the druid class from Dungeons & Dragons being my favorite, but I don't know. Let there be droid fairies. Let there be shape-shifting fairies in the Winx reboot, and I'll give it a 10 out of 10. No questions asked. But other than that, I also did write down that we got some fun displays of Flora's power in the reboot. We had a few different showcases of this, one with her using some vines to hold back the monster, and another with her saving Bloom from something that was off-screen using vines. A lot of vine spells. That kind of became her thing after World of Winx, I'm noticing. She used a lot of vine spells in World of Winx and then Fate the Winx Saga. Well, I mean, I guess it wasn't Flora. I guess it was Terra who was using all the vine spells, but I'd rather not get into that. I'll save that for my actual review of Fate the Winx Saga. But yeah, I do hope they diversify her magic a little bit so it's more than just vine spells. I mean, she's the fairy of nature, for crying out loud. I know in the Italian, like, before the Nick rebrand, basically, she was more so the fairy of plants. And in 4Kids, it's like magical flowers. But I don't know, fairy of nature just sounds cooler, and she needs to be cooler. Just give Flora more to do in this reboot. Make her more of an actual character, please. That's all I ask for. I love her aesthetic, I just wish I could love her personality more. We also get a scene of all 6 Winx in their shared room, and we get a nice look at all their personalities. Aisha was on the treadmill, I'm pretty sure. Musa was playing an instrument. Poor Tekna didn't really get anything. My girl Tekna is always getting done dirty. Absent in Fate in the reboot, well, the reboot isn't out yet, so I can't say for sure. And she actually did get arguably the best transformation out of all the other girls. But I just want to see more from Tekna. She also didn't really say anything in the reboot when all the other Winx got at least one line, so that's kind of irritating, but, you know. There was also this red-haired guy in the trailer. I think someone on Twitter said it was like Bloom's brother, and I'm just... Bloom has a brother? And I mean, I don't hate that plot point, but how does it work in the show is what I'm really curious about. How does she have this brother that goes to Althea with her? I don't know. It'd be very interesting to see how that plays out in the show. Oh, and I also wrote the Winx are construction workers, because there was the scene right after the red-haired guy comes in, where the Winx are in these construction outfits. I thought it might be a reference to that time they got busted by Farragonda for breaking into Cloud Tower and had to clean Althea. Maybe they're doing some construction work on Althea as punishment for something. I don't know, it was just a bit of a weird scene. We also did get a scene with Bloom's parents that I really love. We heard this line in the teaser a while back.
We know this isn't easy, but hard things never are.
I really didn't like how that line was delivered. It sounded very monotone. At some point, I thought it was Tekna saying the line because of how monotone it was. It looks like they did a retake of that line and either changed it to come from Vanessa, or it was always supposed to come from Vanessa and that line was just a placeholder.
We know this isn't easy, but hard things never are.
But yeah, the line sounds much better here, mostly because of the better voice direction. And I also like the scene of Bloom being comforted by her parents. Maybe all the stuff that's going on at Althea is being really overwhelming for her, so she goes to her parents for support. I don't know, it was just really sweet. Also, the parents' designs, what little we saw of them, they're fine. They're good. I don't really have anything to say about their designs, they're just fine. We also saw a good bit of the tricks in this reboot. Of course, they are back and better than ever. They are iconic in this new reboot. And I don't know, just the tricks always serve in every single iteration of the Winx. Even if it's a scenario in the later seasons where they're sort of just henchmen for worse villains. Yes, that I said what I said. Even if it's an iteration like Fate the Winx Saga. And even in this reboot, they always just serve. They're always either in their original outfits or they're still serving with a new outfit. It's a classic case of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. There's a reason these are the icons of Winx Club, besides the main characters, but there's a reason they're the first villains you think of when you think of Winx Club. And that's probably why Rainbow kept bringing them back and why they kept getting progressively worse, but that's a story for another day. We also did see some Griselda in this trailer. I'm kind of curious to see what her outfit's gonna be. It looks like it's gonna have a lot of red in it, so yeah, I'm very interested to see what her role is in the story. I don't want to talk too much about the leaks. I have seen a few leaked episodes, And if you haven't noticed, I'm trying not to talk too much about what I found. But yeah, all I'm going to say is I'm interested to see what Griselda does in the reboot. And also the redone scene where they choose their group name. I love how they changed it to what does Winx mean? Winx means everything. I don't know what it is. I just thought that was really cute how they changed it to mean everything. Unfortunately, it wouldn't be Winx Club if we didn't see the specialists. Look, you guys, I know a lot of people like the specialists, but I don't. I don't. I don't like the specialists. Hopefully the reboot makes me like them, but I'm not really keeping my hopes up, considering it seems like it's falling into the same pitfalls that the original show fell into, where every single Winx has to have a nearly one-to-one boyfriend. What I can say is that I don't hate their designs, but they feel very AI generated. And also some of the designs are just some of the designs of the actual specialists, like Brandon, oh my gosh. I mean, I don't hate his look as much as some other people seem to, but y'all could have done better, is all I'm gonna say. I do like that it seems like he's wearing makeup in his design, and I actually do like that aspect of his character. If it's something they're adding to his character, it just could it not look better than this? Could we not do better than this? I also wanted to point out this super cute scene we got of Bloom and Flora in the trailer where Flora's hugging Bloom. I just thought that was really cute, and also we are so starved of Bloom and Flora content in the original show. This is a welcome change. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm a Bloom x Flora shipper. I am speaking my truth. I'm a Bloom x Flora for lifer, and it's nice that Rainbow finally decided to give us some freaking food after all this time.
I see the flowers bloom when you're around me. I hear the angels sing the sweetest melody. Whenever you call my name.
How can we not see them as girlfriends, Rainbow? I said give us some food. I didn't mean kill us, give us diabetes. But yeah, Bloom x Flora. I ship it. There was also this shadowy guy who was, I think, talking to the Tricks. Again, I have a bit of an idea of what he might be talking about from some of the leaks I saw, but I'm not going to talk about that. I just know it's going to be very interesting. That's all I'm going to say on that. Oh, and it's also confirmed that there are going to be female specialists, about damn time. There was one female specialist in the trailer. She was kind of hard to make out, but there were a few select scenes with her in it. So, like I said, great that they're finally adding in some diversity to this 2000s cartoon. Now it doesn't feel so much like a 2000s cartoon. There was also this scene with a giant monster on top of a building, I think it was, and I thought it was really interesting because it reminded me of that episode in season 2 where the girls are visiting Red Fountain and Avalon is there and he sends out a monster to attack the school. And if there's an episode like that in the reboot, it'll be very interesting to see in action, just because of how much earlier it's going to be in the show and what changes they might make to it. Trying to merge season 1 and 2's plots together might make for an interesting time. Oh yeah, and I would also be remiss if I didn't mention the magic Winx moment. They did the sign, they transformed all together. And all I have to say is take that, you naysayers who didn't think they would do the sign, even though Bloom literally did the sign in the teaser before this. And even then, it was just such a cute moment seeing... It was a really nostalgic moment. It's just like old times. So fun to see them referencing the original show, adding a new spin on it in the reboot, and it was just really cute to see. I am actually really excited to see their first full group transformation in this reboot. It's going to be a fun time. Unfortunately, that ugly Stella scepter is here to stay. Reboot, I can't defend you on this. What gave you the idea that this scepter was a good choice for Stella, especially the Ring of Solarius scepter? What was the idea behind this? Was this just something the AI spat out that you didn't bother to fix at all? I don't know, it just looks terrible. It looks so generic, like a toy you'd get at McDonald's. Why they chose to go with this design for the scepter, I will never know. Oh, and just another thing that I noticed while watching the trailer, some scenes do still look a little unfinished. That is kind of worrying considering, you know, this is supposed to be the trailer, but it doesn't look too bad overall. It's just a few scenes that look a little less polished than some of the other scenes. There was also this one scene where they were all flying through the sky. I just thought that was really cute and it was very pretty. I just really like that scene. It could also be Bloom's first moment flying with the Winx, and that just makes it all the more heartwarming that she finally got her wings and she's able to fly. I don't know, I just thought it was a really cute scene. And once again, I would also be remiss if I didn't mention the scene we had with Daphne near the end. It's great to see that she's also going to be a big part of the reboot. Again, I'm excited to see what they do with her, what her overarching role in the story is compared to the original, and yeah, we're definitely in for a treat. The last thing, this quote from Farragonda. They don't have much time to discover Bloom's true nature. I was interested in that quote mainly because it could be interesting depending on when it's said in the story. If it's earlier in the story, it could be possible that the overarching narrative of the Tricks, or the main villain, whoever that is, taking over the schools could be set into high gear much earlier than it was in the original show. And that would actually be a very welcome change, I think, just because I had a few issues with how that arc was executed in the original show, just because of how it seemed to rush through certain plot points and then go at an absolute snail's pace at others. Having it set into high gear earlier in the new reboot could be a chance to rectify some of my issues in the original show. And also just in general, the idea that Bloom discovering her origins is on a time limit in and of itself is also very interesting to think about. Just in general, I'm very interested to see what they do with this plot development. So yeah, those were all of my notes on the Winx reboot trailer. Gonna be coming out, I think, October 2nd, either that or October 10th. I have the memory of a goldfish, ADHD memory, you know. But overall, yeah, I would say I enjoyed the Winx reboot trailer. There were a lot of fun scenes on display, like with Bloom's introduction in the trailer, and also Flora and Stella meeting up with Bloom and Gardenia, and some of the cute individual moments we got throughout the trailer that shows the Winx's friendship and how it develops over the course of the season. And there was also a good amount of new stuff that kept me intrigued. I'm interested to see how things develop with that red-haired guy. If he really is Bloom's brother, I'm curious to see what is done with him. Seeing the Tricks interacting with the Winx suggests that they're going to be at Althea as well, and so I'm just interested to see how that develops. And also just the general story with Bloom and the Dragonfire, just seeing how that all unfolds in this new reboot compared to the original, and seeing if they have a chance to do it better than they originally did. You know, it's just very interesting to see. I'm very excited to see where this new reboot goes. I could take or leave some of the other elements. The specialists I really don't care for, even though we've only seen brief glimpses of them. And Lord knows their designs are not helping in the slightest. At least the specialists were hot in the original show. Until season 8, but we don't talk about season 8. And also, I didn't mention this before, but I don't really like the idea of the Tricks having to serve a henchman. Like, in general, I didn't like it in the original show, but the fact that we're opening up with the Tricks having to serve this big bad, the main villain of the series, I'm honestly hoping they just betray him and take the Dragon Flame for themselves, because the Tricks just work better when they're not being held back by some boring man. I said what I said. But yeah, other than those few things, the Reboot trailer gets a B+ from me and a smiley face at the bottom. I would draw a smiley face, but it would probably look amateurish. I've never been a good artist. I'm trying to learn, but that will take time. I am sincerely hoping that the Winx fandom will be normal about this trailer and not batshit insane, but we all know our fandom is anything but unhinged, especially when this reboot is the topic of discussion, so I will not be holding my breath. If you've made it to the end of my crazy ADHD ramblings, I would just like to thank you for staying here for so long and hearing what I have to say about the reboot. It warms my heart to know that some people care about what I have to say about a 2005 magical girl show that is currently being rebooted. But yeah, if you want to see more of my crazy ADHD ramblings, make sure to subscribe and click the little bell so I can continue uploading Winx videos. I don't know, just basically saying subscribe, leave comments, help with my engagement so I can keep doing this stuff. But I pretty much said everything I wanted to say in this video, so have a great rest of your day, lads and laddies. Ta-ta for now.